let's piece together a forgotten story from the Spanish colonial frontier. It's a fascinating tale about culture, art, and the passage of time. And believe it or not, it all starts with a simple handful of broken pottery.
So, take a look at this. These are what archaeologists call sherds, basically fragments of old pottery. They were dug up at the sites of 18th century Spanish missions and presidios in Texas. And yeah, I know, at first glance it just looks like a pile of broken dishes. But these little pieces are actually a puzzle.
You see, these are clues to a life that was lived hundreds of years ago, right on the edge of a massive empire. So, that's our big question for this explainer. What story are these fragments just waiting to tell us? Let's find out.
Okay, first things first. We're going to treat this like a detective story. We need to identify the evidence. Who made these things, and what on earth were they used for?
Through some pretty careful archaeological work, we know these aren't just random bits of junk. No way. They're the tough, tangible leftovers from daily rituals. Specifically, the rituals of eating and drinking.
So what have the experts figured out? Well, these are earthenware ceramics, and most of them were made down in Mexico. And the shapes tell the real story of a meal. We've got pieces of platos, which are plates, escudillas, which are bowls, and tazas, or cups. This wasn't just basic functional stuff. This was a whole table service used by Spanish missionaries and settlers trying to bring a little piece of home to the rugged Texas frontier. You know, the famous food writer Brillat Severin really hit the nail on the head with this one. The things we use to eat and drink are so tied up in our identity. They say a lot about who we are and maybe even who we want to be.
Now, to really understand what these objects looked like in their prime, we're going to have to leave the dusty dig site for a minute and head over to an art museum. We need to get familiar with a specific style of Spanish painting called a bodegón. These were basically still lifes that, for the first time, took ordinary kitchen stuff, pots, pans, food, and treated them like they were worthy of high art. And that was a huge deal back then.
The absolute masters of this style, we're talking about the art world superstars of their time like Diego Velázquez and later Luis Meléndez. They didn't just paint objects, they painted a feeling, this gorgeous, idealized vision of daily life captured in incredible detail.
And right here, this is where our two worlds collide. This fragment has a specific pattern called San Agustina blue on white. It was a really popular style from 18th century Puebla. Remember this pattern? All of a sudden, this isn't just a random shirt anymore. It's a bridge connecting archaeology and art. So, think about it. We've got the real, broken, physical evidence from Texas, and we have these perfect, almost too good to be true paintings from Spain. Can one help us reconstruct the other? Can the art actually show us the whole picture?
Before we put all the pieces together, you really have to appreciate how incredible it is that these delicate ceramics ever ended up in Texas at all. I mean, this was the far northern frontier of New Spain, a remote, rugged, and pretty dangerous place. You can see the challenge right here on this map. Most of these fancy ceramics, called majolicas, were made way down in Puebla. Getting them hundreds and hundreds of miles away to the missions in Texas, that was a massive undertaking. The journey itself was just an ordeal. A special buyer would get the goods, then they'd be packed up and loaded onto mule trains. These trains moved at a snail's pace, like 12 to 14 miles a day, over brutal country. Just imagine fragile pottery on that trip. It's a miracle any of it survived. Their arrival must have been a huge deal.
So what was so important that it had to be shipped all that way? Well, besides the glazed pottery, just look at the rest of the list. We've got fine chocolate just for the missionaries, palenchillo, which is a kind of unrefined sugar, sweets, spices, even wine. You see what's happening here, right? These are not survival goods. These are the ingredients for a specific cultural ritual.
And now, this is where it all comes together. The clues from the dig site, the vision from the art gallery, and the historical shipping records, they are all pointing to one specific moment in the day. And here it is. This is the payoff. On the left, a real cup fragment found at a Texas mission, and on the right, the exact same style of cup, whole and perfect, in a still life painting by Luis Meléndez. It's a perfect match. The artifact and the art are telling the exact same story.
And the story they're telling is of La Merienda. This was a light afternoon meal, kind of a civilized pause in the day. It featured hot chocolate, sweets, and bread, all served on that beautiful imported pottery. It was a way of recreating a cherished piece of Spanish life, even in the middle of the harsh frontier.
As the art critic Maureen Malarkey wrote, it's these little rituals that separate brute existence and civilized life. For the Spanish living in Texas, La Merienda wasn't just a snack, it was a declaration of who they were, a piece of their cultural identity in a very foreign land.
But there's one last, deeper connection here between the art of Meléndez and the broken pottery from Texas. And it's that both of them, in their own unique way, are really a meditation on the passage of time.
You see, in art history, there's this concept called vanitas. It's a kind of still life painting that's designed to remind us that life is short. Artists would sneak in little symbols, sometimes obvious things like a skull or an hourglass, but sometimes more subtle, like a single bruised piece of fruit, to hint at mortality and decay. When you look at it that way, you see this incredible shared story. The still life paintings, they capture a perfect, fleeting moment, but they always hint that it's going to end. The archaeological shards? Well, they're the proof. They are the remnants of that moment, the physical evidence of breakage and a long march of time.
So in a way, the famous painting and the humble sherd are just two sides of the same coin. They're both fragments of a single fleeting instant, now lost to time. One is the idealized memory of that moment, and the other is the physical ruin it left behind. It really makes you think, doesn't it? The coffee mug you're holding right now, the plate you ate breakfast on, they're all part of your story, connecting you to this specific moment in time. It makes you wonder, hundreds of years from now, what story will your everyday objects tell?